Hey everybody, I know it's been a while, but I want to just kind of share something. So I'm reading right now, doing a study on Ecclesiastes, and I got a new commentary that someone had suggested, and I'm kind of walking through that commentary, but I really like it because it gives you questions to ponder on and different things like that. And I want to use one of those questions to kind of get your wheels turning up here. They got mine to turn and I want to share them with you. Hopefully, it's a blessing. But even before do that, I want to read um, out of Psalms 145, and I'm going to read the first four verses. I want to just read. Um, it, it speaks for itself. Psalms 145. I will exalt you, my God, the King, and I will bless your name forever and ever. Every day I will bless you and I will praise your name forever and ever. Great is the Lord and highly to be praised, and his greatness is unsearchable. One generation will praise your works to another and will declare your mighty acts. I wanted to read that particular verse because the author there not only is really magnifying not only the Lord's name, but testifying of God's goodness, the things that He has done, all of those, anything you want to throw in there where it points everything to God and not about what anybody else has done. Uh, but the question, it made me think about some things when I that last verse where it says, "One generation will praise your works to another, and will declare your mighty acts." And it's bringing back some of the things that I looked at, looking at this question that I got out of this commentary. It said, "What advice would I give a young person today?" What advice would I give a young person looking back on life? What advice would I give a young person today? And there are a couple of things that I want to share really quickly. First, I would tell a young person to start practicing doing the right thing no matter what. Start practicing doing the right thing no matter what. And we hear statements like that, and we would consider that to be something that, one would say that's just a given. But in our world today, it's not as given as we would think it is. Um, as we go throughout our life, it's easy to begin finding loopholes in doing what is right. And let me clarify that. I'm reading out of my notes, my journal notes. As I'm studying Ecclesiastes, I'm taking some notes, but I'm reflecting on some things and I'm using my journal to do that. But it's easy to begin to find loopholes. But what I mean by that is this: we find ways to justify doing what is wrong, and this can be for many reasons. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever seen somebody else do it, and have you ever done that yourself? Justify doing the wrong things. I think about even in my life before Christ. Um, you know, I justified a lot of the wrong that I was doing because of growing up in poverty. You didn't have a lot. Even though you had enough, you didn't have a lot, and you come up with all of these reasons why I gotta go do this, and this is the reason why I'm acting this way. And we even do that in the church if we are honest. We make up reasons why we don't look like Jesus, or like the one that we're professing with our mouth. And that would be one of the things that I would tell the next generation: just simply start practicing right now doing the right thing. no matter what. No matter what situation you find yourself in, begin to start just doing the right thing. But when I say that, I want you to think about the other implication here. The other implication here is that we must begin seeking out what is right, or another way you can say that is seeking out what is true. So if you're going to begin to start doing the right thing, no matter what, you must first know what the right thing is, and that is what lines up with reality, or what is true. See, the problem with our world today, and this is why we have so many loopholes, we're living in a world, as Abdul Murray calls in his book Saving Truth, we live in a post-truth world where it's feelings and preferences over the truth. We came out of postmodernism that didn't believe in absolute truth, that there was no objective truth that stood alone by itself, that everybody can basically bend themselves to. Now it's, I really don't care what the truth is. This is what I prefer. We got to keep that in mind when we're dealing with people. But the implication is, if you're going to start practicing doing what's right, no matter what, you must know what right is. And we live in a world where people still say that that's your truth, but this is my truth. But there is truth, and that's all it is to it. There is no my truth and your truth, and all of these different truths are all out here. No, it's the truth, and we have to find out what that is. And if you are a believer in Jesus, then you understand that he said he is the way, the truth, and the life. There is no, well, I can just do whatever I want to, and that's fine. No, it doesn't work like that. We want to seek the truth. We want to walk in true reality. We want to learn to start doing the right things. Then we must go to the one that showed us what is right. We're talking about credibility. He is the only one throughout history that has shown to be credible. All this other stuff, I understand we want to be inclusive. I understand all the other language that we try to use in our churches and in our societies and all that. But the truth of the matter is, Jesus is the way. There is no several ways, multiple ways, none of that. And that's something as believers we got to begin to stand on. And that's why Christians are being attacked today, because we've gotten to the point over so many decades, really longer than decades, it's been hundreds of years, where we just refuse to stand and be who we truly are. And we must begin to seek out that truth before you can begin practicing what is right, no matter what the situation is, no matter how much pressure is on you. You must begin to seek out what is right and what is true. Next thing I would tell the young person today, or the next generation, or somebody that been doing so much wrong, and you could be a full adult and you just now getting it right. I would say, look at Jesus's example, and do not let the bad examples of those who simply profess Jesus with their mouth be the determining factor in your choice on who will be your teacher for life. Let me break that down slowly. What I'm saying is this: we get so caught up in looking at people that profess Jesus and don't live like Jesus, and we say, "Oh, there go those Christians," and yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. That's another way of justifying doing the wrong thing. I won't accept this because I saw a couple of people doing it wrong, and we ignore all of the good examples that there have been throughout history. But more importantly, look at Jesus' example that's found in Scripture. It's found right here within Scripture. Look at that example. And quit going these other places when you have the example, instead of being led away by people who claim to be following him. We've had enough bad examples, and uh, too many times we take things at face value and we equate this to all Christians. And sometimes we have some people that even will equate that to Christ himself and say that he was a deceiver. He wasn't really who people say that he is. We had too many bad examples. And my advice would be to the young person, hey, look at Jesus' example and try to follow that. Look at his teachings, because that's a part of the implications there. Look at that and try to do those things. Don't allow yourself to miss many years in life because of bad examples and say, well, it took me to I was 50 to be able to find Jesus because his so-called followers gave me a bad example. It's so crazy that when I was in the streets and doing all of the stuff that I was doing when I was younger, it's amazing how I still to this day, there are two people that I remember who went to school with me, who were in the church, and they were different. They still hung out at certain places. They still went to, parties and, stuff like that. But they didn't participate in everything that everybody else was participating in. They were different people, and I still remember to this day. Now, were they perfect? Did they start making mistakes? Yeah, they started making mistakes, but they never drifted too far off like a lot of other people. I drifted somewhere else, and I didn't grow up in the church. But I still remember those two examples, and I remember when I was counting the cost, as the scriptures tell us, right? I was wrestling with my old way of doing things and this new life that Christ was presenting to me, right? He was showing me what he wanted to do. And I still remember during that time of my counting the cost, I remember those two examples of these two individuals. Um, and yeah, man, we look at all the bad ones and we seem to forget. But I wonder, as I'm sitting here thinking about that now, maybe God wanted me to remember those two, because I'm gonna tell you something. You look at all the bad ones, and I know everybody that has seen 10 bad examples that have seen at least one good example. And when we stand before him on judgment day, and all we bring up is all these bad examples, which we think we'll do. We think we're gonna plead our case to God and we're gonna beat him in the court of law, and he's gonna let me into heaven. It doesn't work like that. But I can tell you one thing. Those examples that were good that you ignored, it's not gonna fly. But also to that, look at Jesus as an example. We need to find someone who can walk through the scriptures with us so we can see Jesus for who he truly is. See, we look at these bad examples, but the other part of that is seek out somebody else that's already doing it, that already knows him, that can begin to walk through the scriptures with you. And that goes back to earlier when I said you must begin to start seeking out what is right, seeking out what the truth is. If you really want to see this stuff about Jesus, find somebody that is really following him and ask them to walk you through the scriptures. You can't look at bad examples and then say, well, I tried it. You know how many times I've heard, I tried it. I tried that Jesus thing, or I tried that Christianity stuff, man. I tried the church thing, and it's we justify so many reasons why we want to go do what we want to do. And when I was in the streets and doing all the stuff I did, not one time that I need to uh, justify not doing the right thing. I made excuses, but there was no way that I said I tried church or I tried this. No, I didn't. I wanted to do what I was doing. I really did enjoy it. It was hard sometimes, but I enjoyed it and I kept on doing it. I didn't say I tried this and it didn't work. I tried this, man. I tried to go over here on the right path, man, but it just, no. I enjoyed doing it. I made excuses, about being in poverty and all of this, yada, 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 all of that. We're good at justifying things. But what I want you to do is, and I'm done, what I want you to do is, I want you to think about what advice would you give, and there's many other things. I just wanted to share two. What advice would you give to the next generation, a young person, whether it's a teenager, whether it's a young adult, whether it's an older adult who is trying to find the right path to get on, and they've been lost all of these years? What advice would you give them? But more specifically, the younger generation, because I chose these two things because you know I know what it's like to start practicing doing the wrong thing at an early age. And if you could get people to start doing what's right and seeking out truth at a young age, it'll make a big difference in their lives. And, I understand the gravity of having the right example. Um, when I read the scripture and just was reading and reading, when I saw Jesus, there was no comparison. Uh, I read stuff out of the Quran. I read things that talked about Muhammad. I read certain things that had to do with Buddhism, Hinduism, all of this other stuff. When I read Jesus, there was no comparison. No comparison. I will exalt you, my God, the King, and I will bless your name forever and ever. Every day I will bless you, and I will praise your name forever and ever. Great is the Lord, and highly to be praised, and his greatness is unsearchable. One generation will praise your works to another and will declare your mighty acts. Psalms 145, verses 1 through 4. And as always, I want to leave my blessing with you. Grace, mercy, and peace be with you.